Okay guys, I'm going to make a video on how to build this. It's a very quick and simple model when you break it down. It's got a simple substance material on it, and the unwrap, if you model it in the right kind of order, the unwrap should be fairly simple as well. I'll probably break it down into the modeling, the unwrap, and then the just applying a quick texture. And it won't be a substance kind of tutorial. It'll just be how to put something quick, that like a smart material or something on it, just to get you a type of effect that you want. So you can see it's a hand painted type stylized model, and if you look at the actual model itself, it's built into lots of different elements. So I've got all these different elements, and then again different elements. And the reason I use kind of this, if I can, on models, is one, to get people out of the habit of thinking that everything has to be one mesh. I mean, it can be one mesh when you can attach it all together when it's finished and ready to go out, or you can just export it into the FBX with a bit of tweaking in Unreal or wherever you're putting it. You should be fine. But the other benefit to this is it sometimes makes texturing easier and unwrapping easier and selecting things. So that's how we're going to kind of do this. Now, we all have a kind of idea what a barrel looks like. The first thing to do is bring up a reference. I've got a reference here because I've already modelled one, so I'm going to go off this. If you want to go off this, fine. If you want this model to experiment with, it's on our teams. So we're just going to start off, and I'm going to start off with a simple box, just about this height, around about the same height as this. That should be fine, like that. I'm going to put a few segments in it. Now if you look at these, if you want to analyse the segments, I've actually got none going this way, and I've got a little bit of a bevel on the side. Okay, now you can do that various ways if you want. You can put a chamfer modifier on top of it, or you can just bevel the two sides out. It's completely up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it a little bit differently to how I did it the first time I did it. So I'm just going to have quite thinner planks, I think. Rather than me make this one exactly, I'm just going to tweak things up a little bit. But I do want some segments. So I want one this way, and that's if I decide to kind of bend it in a little bit with like a bend modifier or something, then it will go that way. And I obviously want some segments going this way because I'm going to bend it round to give it that kind of barrel shape. I might put a little bit more in there than this one, just to change it up a little tiny bit. Okay, so when I'm happy with that, okay, what I can do is I can either shape it how I want it, or I can just start with a box. Now, there's various good things that come with doing that, and there's bad things that come with doing that. But I'm going to do it one way, which is I'm just going to kind of copy this just there, and then copy it around about 9 times maybe. So I've got a nice row of boxes, okay? And this doesn't look like much, but it will be. So then the first thing I'm going to do is just stagger these just a tiny bit, and you want to be as random as possible. You don't want it to be one up, one down with a obvious pattern, okay? Just like this, just stagger them like this. And if I look like it's not right, maybe that one a bit down like that. Okay, doesn't really matter. And then what we're going to do is grab everything in that bit, that chunk, and we're going to universally put a bend modifier on top. That's in the modifiers stack, or you can just press X and just go bend, and that'll put it on. Now we're going to want to bend this kind of round on the X axis, and then just swivel it round so it's a 90-degree bend with the direction. So obviously we want a 360-degree bend. If I want to bend it this way or this way, that's up to me. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go minus 360 because I want it to bend that way, and that should be fine for my bend. Remember, these are still all separate shapes. Okay. So then I'm gonna I could try a taper. So a taper modifier, again, if you want to select it all and just hit X and just do taper, you'll get it there. And I can just change the shape of this like this and see what it's doing. Now if I have a curve on it, it's obviously going to apply the taper just one way. So what I can do is just put a symmetry on and get it the other way. So it does it on the top and the bottom at the same time. Now this will give you, you know, a good effect. You can mix it up and just do things like that. It's completely up to you. With it being a stylized barrel, doesn't really matter. Now if you don't like this way, which I don't really like it, it's a little bit locked down for me. I'll take the taper off, and I'm just going to put an FFD with a 3x3x3 and go into the control points. I'm just going to manually grab these control points here on the little orange lattice. I'm just going to bring them out, and that gives me a much more kind of friendly barrel shape. And obviously you can mix this up a little bit if you want, make the bottom a little bit fatter or thinner. Completely on your design, just kind of go with it. Maybe I want this top one a little bit in, or both, just a little bit in. And when you find the right kind of balance, you'll get it. I'm going to do it a little, just like that. That'll do. Okay. Now with that done, I've kind of got my barrel. I can grab it all. I'll put an edit poly on top of it. Now the reason I'm putting an edit poly on, because I don't really like edit poly, is because if I want to go back, I can. And just for illustration purposes, really, I'd probably collapse everything into a poly, because I'm quite confident that I'm not going to go back. But if you're not, then put an edit poly on, because you can always take it off. So grab everything again. Everything is still separate objects. So we're going to go edit poly. I'm going to go into edit poly. I'm just going to grab these bottom verts just at the bottom here. Just not selecting these ones, just these bottom ones. So I can go into wireframe just to select these bottom ones. Now the reason I want to do this is I just want to crush that bottom down on the Z-axis, so it's nice and flat. Obviously I've missed these ones out, and just double check that you've not missed any others out or selected any that you don't want to select. Okay, so I'm going to crush them in like this. Obviously I've selected them. Now I've got my stagger a little bit too much here, I think, but okay. Now I just want these kind of flat. I don't want them perfectly flat, it's not a big deal, and that'll do for that. Now if you think that that's, you know, bringing the shape a little bit wrong now, then, you know, put another FFD on top if you like, and just stack these. Don't be afraid of stacking these. They're fairly rudimentary modifiers, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got a lot of things stacked up here. Okay, so there's my barrel. You know, it's not bad. What I can do is I can steal one of these planks. Now on this barrel, the reason we've got like quite a good gap there is because I've got a bevel at each side, and something that I'm not going to do for this because I have got a gap anyway. So I can steal one of these planks and just copy it and just turn all of the modifiers off it. So I've got this plank, okay, and I'm just gonna rotate it by 90 degrees. I'm just gonna bring it up here, round about, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to copy it at different scales. So I'm just going to scale this one like this, and then I'm going to scale another one next to it. I'm going to do this individually because I'm going to change the scale. If I do too many of them, they'll all be the same scale, and I don't really want that. I'm going to move this in. Just scale this a little bit smaller. And once you've got three nice ones, you could actually just copy them over like that, or like that, just so I'm not going over this barrel. Okay, and this is going to be my lid, so I'm going to make sure that fits. It does fit, so I'm going to put it around there. Okay, I'm going to convert one of these into an editable polygon, and then I'm going to attach all the rest of them to it. Now the reason for this is I'm going to use a tool called Boolean. Okay, and I'm going to cut out a circle. So what I want to drop in next is a cutter tool. So I'm going to drop in a cylinder. So I'm going to go into the top viewport. I'm just going to make a cylinder that's the same kind of size as my barrel, kind of midway like this. So there's my cylinder, and it's kind of, it fits in there. So I'm building a lid, so I want it to fit kind of within there. That'll do. That's all right. Okay. Now I want this quite low in terms of sides, but not too low. Just because when it cuts through, I don't want too many weird verts going on. So let's try 10. 10's good. And I don't want any height segments because I don't need them. And it has to be thicker than these planks because it's got to cut all the way through. Okay. Now I'm going to select the planks and I'm going to go down to compound objects. I'm going to go Boolean. Okay. Now you could do this with a Boolean if you've not done Boolean. I'm going to do a lot of undoing here, and you can basically say I want to intersect this. Actually, not intersect, union this, and then add kind of your cut tools, and it gives you this. Okay, but Boolean gives you a nice list, so you can get rid of them, which is pretty cool. So you can intersect. In fact, let's undo that. So you can intersect and then add operands, and it'll give you this. Sometimes I use Pro Boolean because it gives you a better kind of result. So I'm going to go back and show Pro Boolean. So again, we've got this. I'm going to go Pro Boolean. Believe it or not, Pro Boolean is older. So I'm going to say union, and then start picking my cutter tool, and I get this. So there's the union. The subtraction also might give you this, and then the intersection will give you this. So I find it, so this is a lot cleaner for me. Okay, and then once that's done, I'm just going to convert that into an editable polygon. Now if you want to clean these up, and this is why I went for a very low poly count, because I've not got any verts kind of intersecting each other. Yeah, I've got 5-sided and 6-sided polys probably, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. Nobody cares. So with that said, I'm going to drop that into there, and there's my lid. Okay, and then I can drop that into there and resize it or whatever, but I might want to unwrap it first and then copy it to save me some unwrapping time. Now if you wanted to unwrap one of these planks before you kind of multiplied it by a lot, then that's a wise thing to do. I've not done it like this because I want to show how to put them seams in and tackle if you've got a model that's really hard to navigate and really hard to get in there. I want to show you some easy ways to get to it. But if you do want to, if you are familiar with that and stuff, you could unwrap one plank, copy it, do what you need to do, follow this same process, and then you've saved yourself a lot of work unwrapping, and then you just need to pack them. So I've got this lid, and what I'm going to do with this lid is, because it's a separate object, I'd probably unwrap it as a separate object. I'll probably unwrap this as a separate thing, and then it's just easier to see things. But what I will do is go into select element, and I'll just make it a little bit kind of randomized. I'll turn my snap off, just kind of like this, just to give kind of the impression of, you know, that it's a little bit withered, a little bit like this. Okay, there we go. And then the same with this, and this is where you add quite a few little touches. Now I'm going to copy this over here, not that, the whole thing, just so if I have to go back, because I'm actually going to collapse this. So collapse, I'm just going to collapse all, okay, and then and then I'm going to put an edit poly on top of everything, and I'm just going to start going in. And if you've got 2021, you can just shift and drag and create some little shapes. And this is all I've done for the one that is in the scene that's finished. So just create some spikes. Now you can go super detail with this if you want. You can add like little splits off that, rotate the angles, rotate kind of like things like this, make little spikes that go up. Completely up to you. I'm just rushing really. You don't have to add an extrude on every one of them. Some of them I probably would though, depending on your pattern. Scale them out. There we go. Maybe that could be like a sticking out one. You never know. Okay, so once that's round about there, I'm just trying to neaten this up, force of habit. Once that's like that, and you've got some nice weird kind of barrel, you could select it all and put like a noise modifier on top of it. just to give it a little bit more randomness. So I'll go to 10 by 10 by 10 with a fractal, and then have a play about with the scale, see what you can get. And that's not bad. It looks more like a vase than a barrel at this point, but never mind. Same theory. And then we could drop that in just to make sure that it still fits. If it doesn't, we can just scale it out. And make sure your pivot point is back in the middle. And then we're kind of good to go with that now. And that's the wooden bit done. So what we can do with these bits is, again, these are separate objects. So these are just simple tubes. So again, just going to make a tube. I want it to be quite low, actually. Let's do something like 18. And I'm going to press Alt-A and align it to this bit because I know this is center. And I'm just going to bring it down and just start playing with its values until I get something that I like. I don't need to tweak this in, I think, because I'm going to delete that. So let's say I like that. That's not bad. Okay, maybe a little bit higher. Now I'm going to show you where to conform this. Okay, well that's not bad. I like that. So I'm going to just take the tube, convert it to an editable polygon, and then just select this edge and delete it. Select this edge and delete it. So then I've just got the outer polygon loop. So I'm just going to place that there. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this all one polygon. So I'm going to attach everything. So I'm just going to collapse everything onto it by converting it to a polygon. And then I'm just going to attach all of these planks. And the reason for this is I'm just going to use a tool that I don't think people use enough, to be honest, and it's just a conform tool, and it's in your graphite modeling, which is at the top. So if you go to show ribbon, it should be already here when you select an editable polygon. And if you go to freeform, and you got a little grid, and it's going to say basically what do you want to paint onto. So I'm going to say I want to draw on a surface and I want to pick the barrel. Okay, now I'm going to select this. Oh, actually, yeah, and then I'm going to conform this to the. I'm just using the brush, the conform brush, and what this will do is it'll just nicely kind of latch that to that shape, so it's not looking a little bit off. And once you're finished with that, just right click, and you can actually just either put a shell modifier on top of this or push it out. What I like to do with stuff like this is do a shell, push it out a little bit with your values there. Okay, and then put an edit poly on top, isolate it by doing Alt Q. Okay, and then in the edit poly, just again delete. Well, not delete that. Delete the inside face. Okay, so you can ring select. All right, but I'll just select them all just to kind of show you what I'm doing. I'm just selecting this inner thing. I'm just going to delete that. I want to keep these, and this is because these are not going to be seen. They're not going to be, you don't need to see this stuff. And I know it's conformed, and there shouldn't be any gaps. If there is any gaps, you can just scale it in a little bit. But you shouldn't have any problems. Now you could repeat that with these two other bands, and then once you're done, you can attach everything together if you like. But I would only attach things after the unwrap.